Okay, everyone, welcome to our presentation here. We are going to be talking about unlocking the power of AI agents with Snowflake and Microsoft Copilot apps. I am Matt Marzillo. I've been with Snowflake for over 3 years now. I'm a partner engineer here at Snowflake. I support helping our joint customers with Microsoft, helping them understand how to use our platforms together successfully with a focus on AI workloads. I'm joined by probably one of the most important people to the Snowflake ecosystem. It's a Microsoft employee. It's my counterpart over at Microsoft. Shankar, he's the principal architect at Microsoft, also Snowflake data superhero. Maybe the biggest expert as far as using Snowflake and Microsoft together. And we're going to be kind of guiding you through this lab today. And what the agenda goes over is first we're going to be talking about some prerequisites, right? So I'm going to kind of let you know what you have to get set up in the background when we get to the hands-on portion. And then Shankar is going to walk through a high level on the Microsoft and Snowflake partnership, and then do a little bit of a deeper dive in the patterns that we're seeing customers adopt with Snowflake and Microsoft today for AI. And then I'll be back over to me for the hands-on lab. So really quick, some prerequisites. So you need a Snowflake account, right? So you have to have a Snowflake account set up here. We're going to be building, we're going to be loading some data, building some services with Cortex Analyst and Cortex Search and agents. And then you also need to have a Copilot Studio. And then we're going to be building a simple Copilot Studio agent and then connecting that to the Snowflake Cortex agent that you built so that you can use those two securely and seamlessly together. Additionally, you'll need some sort of editor, some IDE. So use Visual Studio. At some point, we're going to have to quickly copy over a PowerShell script and then upload that and run it. And then lastly, access that tiny URL right there. So tinyurl.com/sfmsqs. And that's the quick start that we're going to be following for this lab. If for whatever reason you don't have access to like Copilot Studio or you don't have access to the Snowflake part, that's fine. Follow along. You can do one of those parts depending on what service you have access to, and then you can connect the other part after the fact following that quick start. So Shankar is going to go into a great presentation. While he's doing that, if you have to get some of this stuff stood up, go ahead and do it. Now is your time. But with that, I will hand it over to Shankar. Shankar.
Thank you, Matt. Nice to see everyone here on the hands-on lab. So I'm going to start a bit about what we are doing together with Microsoft and Snowflake. As you can see, we have been announcing a lot of new things in the news, right? Even last week, we announced the new video between both of our CEOs, Sridhar and Satya, talking about our joint partnership and what we are working on next, right? The objective is very simple, right? We want to activate your data and deliver AI to every enterprise user, right? Both of the companies have mission, and for an AI to effectively work, data is very important, right? As a data AI cloud, Snowflake enables you as a customer to unlock all the aspects of data. And we as a Microsoft are providing an entire toolkit so that you can do more with your data, right? Unlock productivity, use it for all facet of your enterprise needs, and do it all in a single platform, which is on the Microsoft platform. And together, we are hoping to change and help customers work together. So basically, when you look at it, our current architecture, right, we have a complete integrated stack, right, across from bottom to top, right? We start off with the platform, right, where we are tightly integrating between Fabric and Snowflake through our new interoperability iceberg-based pattern, right? The data can sit in one lake, can access both bidirectionally between Snowflake and other engines in Fabric, unlock more different use cases. And the good part of it is a zero copy bidirectional data. So the data exists just in one lake, single copy, both Snowflake engine and Fabric engine operates on the same thing. And with exposing it through one lake and Fabric ecosystem, you have the other connectors that are natively available in Fabric, which can also talk to Snowflake, namely your Power BI, your data factory pipeline, as well as other workloads like data agents, which can talk to the same data in one lake. With Foundry, we are working on a lot of new innovation stuff that is yet to come. But we also have the availability of the Azure OpenAI models directly with Snowflake within Cortex. So you can now use state-of-the-art GPT models up till the latest version of GPT model within your Cortex agent so that you can make your agent even more intelligent using the Azure OpenAI GPT models. With the application and AI side, we are also exposing it through the Dataverse connector, right? This is a zero copy bidirectional connector that can connect our various applications directly with Snowflake. It uses the virtual table method, so the data is not moved essentially out of Snowflake, and you get the latest version of the data every single time. What we are seeing today is for the Copilot Studio, which is powered using the Dataverse connector, right? But the same connector also powers the Power Apps as well. So you can build line of business applications directly on Power Apps through the Canvas apps, leveraging the data in Snowflake. And finally, we have the M365 Copilot and Teams, which is a new application in the marketplace for Cortex Agent that you can deploy natively within your teams and M365. And underlying all of these is our security and governance module, right? And we tightly integrate through our purview towards the Snowflake horizon. So all of these can be managed with a single interface, single catalog. So you have the end-to-end visibility of what the life cycle is going to look like. And what are we doing specific for generative AI? So with generative AI, we have a couple of options what we saw, right? The first one, what we're going to see today is Copilot, right? So in Microsoft, we have Copilot. Think of it as a UI for AI, right? Copilot is a lot more. It tightly integrates into almost all of our native stacks, right? It gives you as an enterprise an application to build native low code, no code based agents, connecting to various different other agents and talking to various different sources and knowledge bases, right? And the single Copilot experience is consistent across all of our product landscape, right? And we are adding Copilot to almost every single product stack. We started with the Power BI, now almost for all of the stacks you have it, right? And with the Azure OpenAI and Foundry, right, we are bringing in the state-of-the-art model directly to you in a secure, governed environment. You can use the model for various different AI use cases, plug into any of our open source framework like Semantic Kernel or anything like that, right? And also the AI Foundry as a platform gives you a seamless way of managing and consuming other model services and capabilities in a single unified experience. So you're not just restricted to using OpenAI. You can use any of the specialized models. You can use most of the open source models. We have a lot of models available together with the AI Foundry. And what is Snowflake Cortex AI? That is their powerful AI platform built directly within Snowflake, right? We all know Snowflake is very good with handling large volumes of data, doing various different processing. Cortex AI brings an additional capabilities on top of that, pulling in various different individual components, which is successful into a single unified experience on Cortex and now built into Snowflake Intelligence, right? So with the Snowflake Cortex, you have a bunch of different layers that are there, right? The foundation of it is your Snowflake data, right? A secure platform where all of your data still sits in your Snowflake boundary with all the different capabilities of both structured and unstructured support, right? You have various different what I would like to call as a tool, right? So you have your Cortex search or capabilities for your unstructured data retrievals, right? You have a Cortex analyst, which is the state-of-the-art, industry-ready, powerful test to SQL, right? And you have your document processing through the document AI, which lets you process unstructured documents like your PDF and extracting key insights. On top of this, it's the agent, right? And with agent is now the new interface, which is Snowflake Intelligence, right? Which provides an easy to use capabilities that powers the agent. So you can create agents and as well as consumes the agent directly within Snowflake, as well as through the third party application using the APIs and endpoints, similar to what we do with the Copilot Studio. And underneath the agent is powered by various models, right? You can pick any of the models here, including the new OpenAI ChatGPT models, right? And because it's all built into the Snowflake's boundary, all of the governance, the guardrails, the monitoring and stuff, all of it's available natively to you as part of the new Snowflake intelligence experience. And for the Copilot Studio, one of the reasons why we are doing this is we are reimagining the way that we work, right? So we are not just restricting the capabilities to just using agent, right? Agent is just the interface what we work with. Within the Copilot Studio, using the data in Snowflake, you can build various different workflows, right? That could be agents calling another agents or even doing a particular task, right? Because it is bidirectional, we can read and write read from Snowflake as well as write back to Snowflake, right? You can add various different knowledge sources along with Snowflake. Say, for example, you have an ERP system or you have a ServiceNow or you have any of the other systems that wants to talk to the agent along with the data in Snowflake. You can do that together, right? And underneath the foundation is the data itself, right? Because we connect directly to the Snowflake's platform, we are able to leverage the key powerful features that Snowflake has to offer in terms of processing the data directly within the platform. And today we're going to see how we are going to do it with Copilot apps. The way that you develop Copilot apps is using Copilot Studio, right? Copilot Studio is our end-to-end conversational AI product, right? That helps you build your own agents for various different use cases, an agent-first environment where you can configure various different agents and flows, right? And you can also extend the existing M365 and Copilot with your own data, APIs, and knowledge sources, right? It's a drag and drop interface. If you are used to Power Platform and Power Automate and flows, you will have a similar experience here, right? Just with an agent first approach. But what we are doing today using this Copilot Studio is basically bringing in through the APIs and various different sources using the Cortex agent, connect to Snowflake, work with Snowflake on the data in Snowflake, and then orchestrate it through the Cortex agent. Right. The good thing about the Copilot Studio is you build the agent once, you can deploy it in almost all the places, right? You can deploy it in your teams. Your end users can chat with folks, chat with your agent just like how they chat with the regular people, right? On the teams, you can deploy it on a browser, you can embed it in application, you can expose it as an API, and we have even recently introduced a support for MCP as well, right? So you can also use it, connect to MCP sources using the Copilot Studio. And what powers underneath the connection between Copilot Studio and Snowflake is the new Dataverse connector, right? The Dataverse connector is a zero copy bidirectional flow of data, right? It's almost near real time, which means that we always access the latest version of the data in Snowflake. It supports the OAuth authentication, so the connection mechanism is secured through the power of Entra ID and Snowflake OAuth, right? And there is no need for doing any kind of transformation extraction. You point it to the virtual table, you have access to the data directly in Snowflake on a particular table. And this is both bidirectional, which means that you can use the connector not just for consuming the data, you can also use the connector to send the data or update the data in Snowflake, right? Imagine you're querying a data in your agent and you have a sales order or something that you want to get it updated. You can directly instruct the agent to do an update, and you can build a workflow that actually goes and updates the data to Snowflake, right? This can also mean that you can use things like your feature engineering that you're updating, feedback for a particular model that you're receiving. All of those things can be done because of the ability to have it right back also to Snowflake. And what are we seeing today as part of the lab is the pattern where we are using the Copilot Studio, building an application with an agent in Copilot Studio that leverages the agent that you build in Snowflake using the Cortex agent. The Cortex agent is going to leverage two tools, your Cortex Analyst and your Cortex Search. We're going to take structured data and an unstructured data, have the Cortex agent orchestrate automatically depending on the query, whether the data needs to go to the text to SQL or whether the data needs to go to the Cortex Search. Then we're going to build an agent in Copilot Studio that calls this particular Cortex agent using the Dataverse connector, and then test it out and deploy it, right? The deployment model, what we're going to show today, is within the Copilot Studio, but you can publish the same agent either within Teams or any of the other interfaces that we support. And now moving on to Matt for the hands-on lab part.
Thanks, Shankar. Let's now get into the hands-on lab portion. So what we're going to be doing is loading two data sets, a structured data set that has sales metrics data, so deal size, stage of the deal, whether or not we lost it or won it, sales rep, and then a Cortex analyst associated with that. And then we're also going to be loading call transcript data. So some unstructured data. We're going to layer a Cortex search service on top of it, and then also wrap a Cortex agent around that, and then build a kind of a higher level agent in Copilot Studio that will connect to this agent. And then certainly not covered in this hands-on lab, but you can connect other services from that agent as well. So the first thing you'll have to do is configure OAuth, right? So go ahead and copy all this PowerShell script here and paste that into a Visual Studio Code or any sort of code editor that you have access to. Just go ahead and copy it, and then paste it into VS Code. And then at around line 18, you'll have to put in your tenant ID from your Microsoft tenants, right? And you could find that if you're unfamiliar, you can go into Azure, you can go into Enter ID or anywhere, and find that tenant ID. So place that into this spot. It should have bracketed tenant ID in there. Save it and then head back into save it with a .ps1 extension. You can name it like we're going to be uploading this to create the configuration. So go back into your Azure portal and in the top, select the terminal box and open up the Cloud Shell terminal. It'll take a few seconds to warm up. You may also, I didn't receive it, but you may be prompted with a code and a site to authenticate to use Microsoft Graph CLI. It's easy, you just copy that code, select that link, put the code in that spot that you're prompted with. When you select the link, and you'll be good to go. Once that's done, go into Manage Files, select Upload, and then find that PowerShell script and open it. Now that we've uploaded that PowerShell script, go ahead and run it. So select /, start typing whatever you named it, and it'll populate it for you, and then hit enter. Oh, looks like I'm getting the prompt right now. So you can go ahead and authenticate. And I'm all good. Okay. So now we're going to be creating the resource in the client app. So we'll call this Snowflake build resource app. And then we'll call that Snowflake build client app. The app role name will be analyst. And we're creating service principal auth. This quick start shows service principal auth. Certainly you can configure this with delegated auth. There's material online for you as well. We're going to go ahead and plop in that tenant ID one more time. Right, what this is doing, there's a manual way of setting this up, and some of you may be familiar with setting that up. If you kind of come into the appendix of the quick start, you can kind of see what that process looks like here. The PowerShell script just automates it. A lot less room for error as far as like, pasting over different values and secrets and things like that. And then what you'll see is like one of the real nice outputs of all of this is that it does produce a snowflake info.txt file that we can then use to set up the integration on the Snowflake side and then also populate the values that's needed in Copilot Studio to finalize the configuration. So you can see here we created the snowflake info.txt file. So we go to manage files, select download. We'll download snowflake info.txt. Select download. This is like the 12th time, 11th time I've downloaded this while I'm checking it. And then what we'll do right now is go ahead and copy and paste the bottom part of this where we're creating the security integration and the user and the role. So copy that. And then you're going to save this too, because you're going to use these values up at the top at the end when we're configuring Copilot Studio. So, but for now, copy everything from create security integration and below. Let's get that copied. Then I will let's see here. Bear with me. Oh, we'll come into a worksheet that we have, or workspace that we have inside of Snowflake, and just execute all this code. Perfect. Okay, we're good there. And then, so we've created the configuration in Enter ID, created security integration on Snowflake. So now what we can do is set everything else up inside of Snowflake that we need to set up. So go ahead into step 3. Let me just double check to make sure we got everything set. Yeah, we're done with step 2. So we can go to step 3 and we'll go ahead and copy everything. This is going to be creating both of those tables that we need, and then also creating a Cortex search service that we're going to use along with it. So bear with me here. Okay. So in that same workspace, you can kind of just drop that code down, and I'll just run all of it. It should work just fine. All right, so what we're doing is we're loading in, you can see here we're loading in the transcript data with all the call logs. Oh, looks like everything ran fine though. Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, we're loading in all of the call transcript data. We're loading in the with a Cortex search service on top of that. And then I don't know if we need that stage, but we'll have it. So now we have the search service. What we now have to do is create an analyst service on top of the structured data and then an agent that will use both of those tools. So let's go into the AI ML panel into Cortex Analyst. We will go into the sales intelligence.data database and schema. If you're not there already, go there. Select create new semantic view. For the name of the semantic view, let me remind myself what we named it. Sales metrics model. Select next. We're going to go ahead and find that table that we just created for sales metrics. If we go into sales intelligence, into data, there's 2 tables. We want the sales metrics table. Select next. We're going to select all of the columns, all the fields, select create and save. And now I think this is a really big differentiator for Snowflake, right? We've done a really good job at building an experience for building context on top of your structured data. So this is real simple. It's one table, but you can have multiple tables, right? And you can define relationships. And then out of the box, it's going to use LLMs. Snowflake's going to use LLMs to generate all of the context that is needed to produce highly accurate SQL queries and results when you provide some sort of request to a Cortex analyst service. So really great thing is that this is all easy and automatic, but then there's also a really easy way to have a human being in the loop to validate this, to enhance it. Under the hood, it's simply creating, a YAML file, and Snowflake participates in OSI for being able to have open standards for using these contextual semantic models for getting insights out of your structured data. So we're just going to leave this like this from what was generated with the synonyms and descriptions that were generated. So we'll click save. All right. And then we'll go back into the AI/ML pane. We will select agents. And then we'll say create agent. We'll say, we will create this agent in the sales intelligence data schema. And then I have to remind myself what we're naming that agent. We're naming it Sales Intelligence Agent. And once that agent is created, you'll see it pop up here, select, and then in the top right, select edit. And you can see here, there's a handful of things you can do. The first thing, let's go ahead and give it access to, before we forget, to that analyst role. So we create that analyst role. Let's make sure that we can use it. The analyst role can use the agent. And then we're going to add those 2 tools that we created. So in tools, select Cortex Analyst, select add, find that sales intelligence database with the data schema. find that semantic view. Go ahead and we're naming the tool the same as we're naming the analyst. And then we're going to say generate with Cortex. We're just generating a description of this analyst tool so that the agent knows what it does. You can certainly do it on your own, manually type it in, but we'll just go ahead and use LLMs. And it provides a very robust description of what it is. And then we'll select add. And then we'll come into Cortex search, select add. Again, we're going to go ahead and find that search service that's in salesintelligence.data. You see sales conversation search. We're going to not select an ID column or title column this time around. We'll name it the same as its name, conversation search. And then we're going to give it a quick description. The search service is providing information on sales transcripts. Paste that in, select add. And then we're also going to provide orchestration and response instructions to the agent. So give you an idea of kind of what to do and how to select tools, and then also a clue on how to build a response from what it receives from each of the tools. So we will back in the quick start. You can see here, still in step 3, we have orchestration instructions. And then we also have response instructions. So again, really simple. I mean, you can add many different search services, multiple analyst services, provide much more robust orchestration instructions. There's also custom tools to call stored procedures and functions, and even make external requests external. So now we've done the work as far as like building the agentic systems inside of Snowflake. Now what we're going to do is this little trick that we've leveraged is wrapping a stored procedure around that agent so that we can access it from Copilot Studio. So let's go back into workspaces. Let's copy that SQL code. Let's go back into workspaces. And I'm not going to go through all this code in detail, but what it's doing is just creating a simple stored procedure with one parameter, which is just some sort of question that will then pass to the agent and then return a response. So while that's finishing up, let's go ahead and go back into the quick start. And I'm going to grab this test here to make sure that stored procedure works. Okay, the stored procedure has been created. Let's put a semicolon at the end there. Let's go ahead and try this out. So we know that there's a dummy company in there called Tech Corp, and we're just going to ask what was the initial discovery call with Tech Corp about. So what should be happening is we're calling the agent. The agent should know to go to the Cortex search service and then return a result. And sure enough, it did, right? So we're all good. We set everything up well on the Snowflake side. We have the security integration in Snowflake. We have the app Raj. Now it's just a matter of getting things configured on the Copilot Studio side. So let's do that. Okay, so let's go into Copilot Studio. And like this is something I mentioned at the top with Shankar is that if you don't have access to everything, go ahead and follow along. You can set this up after the fact. It's really easy. You can kind of go back and reference the quick start as well. So there's a number of kind of ways of setting this up. Let's start with creating a flow, right? So if you go and select a flow on the left side, we'll say new agent flow. And what we'll do is we'll create a Snowflake. It's not a trigger. We'll find the actually probably go back into here, continue without saving. Say when an agent calls a flow. Yes, that's right. When an agent calls a flow, and then we will add a Snowflake. Yes, the Snowflake submits SQL for execution. We'll also have to have an input here, right? So there will be, if you select add input, we'll define it as input. So when an agent calls a flow, we're going to wrap an agent around this flow. The agent will have a response that will set up that will get passed this input variable here that will then get passed to the call to our stored procedure. So right now we're in the submit SQL statement for execution. This is the native integration that Snowflake has with Power Automate, right? So we're just leveraging that same integration, and we have to define a few things here to finish up our connection. So in advanced parameters, go ahead and select that, and then at the bottom we're going to want to make sure we include role, warehouse, schema, database, and then the statement that we're going to be selecting. And then now we have to provide the SQL, the Snowflake URI. So if I go back into my Snowflake account, that should look something like this. Paste that in there, and you will remove the HTTPS at the beginning and that slash at the end. And then now let's start providing some of the parameters here. I'm going to up this timeout to, we should be good with 60, but I'm going to up it to 90 just in case. Okay, so for database, it's sales intelligence. The schema is data. The warehouse is sales intelligence warehouse. And the role is analyst in all caps. Okay, and we need to provide this the SQL statement. And if you go back into the quick start, we have that information right here in step 4. So go ahead and copy and paste that in. And then we will select that input variable that we're defining up here at the top. Okay, and then we will have to also create a connection object. So if you click on these ellipses up here in the top right, and then select add connection, I'm going to define this as Snowflake build connection. And here's where that Snowflake info.txt file comes in handy as well. So you can see here we want to populate the tenant ID using the service principal authentication type. We want to populate the client ID, and you should just be going down a list on that Snowflake info.txt file. I'm literally using that file off to the side here to copy and paste in all these values. I'll provide the secrets, the resource URL, and then once again that Snowflake SaaS URI. And then the database is sales intelligence. The warehouse is sales intelligence WH. The role is analyst. Schema is data. I'm just double checking my typing and all that. It all looks good. Let's see if we get a good connection here. As long as we've set everything up good, no typos, I think we're in good shape. Okay, and then what we want to do is have a response to the agent, right? So the output will be a variable named output. And then the way that the Snowflake connector works is that the response comes back in a certain format. There is a body slash data portion that we're going to add there. So I did that kind of quick. Let me show that again. So here in this prompt, you can select the lightning bolt, search for data, and then we'll return that body slash data to the output variable. And this is the flow. This is sort of kind of like doing a lot of the work. And you can use this flow from other experiences inside of Copilot Studio, and I'll mention that at the end here really quick. So let's save that. Let's publish it. And then let's test it. We'll say summarize call with fast track. Now what this is doing is it's taking that prompt, summarize call with fast track, passing it to the input variable. And then that input variable is being used in the stored proc call, which then should return a response from the agent that should be passed as output as part of this flow. Select done. Go into overview. It succeeded. Okay, that's good. Let's kind of go into that, make sure we got some output that we like. Show raw outputs. Okay, great. You kind of see it's a nested response, but you see in body, in data, we get this response, which is a good response, right? That's coming from our agent. The agent was smart enough to know to go to search, and our flow is working. It's connected. Awesome. Now what we're going to do, and let me give this flow a better name. It's named Untitled. Let's go ahead and edit that. We'll call it Snowflake Build Flow. Select Save. Okay, great. Now on the left side, let's go into Agents. We'll say Select New Agent. We will name it Snowflake Build Agent. And select Create. In the quick start, it references to create the topic, and then from the topic, create the flow. And you can do that. That's certainly fine. We already created the flow. Now let's create the topic and just point to that flow. So if we go into topics here at the top, I'm going to go ahead and just turn the rest of these topics off, just so it's a little bit of a smoother testing. And then I'll select Add Topic from blank. We will define it as, use Cortex Sales Agent. This will, when a prompt like that is made, it will be the trigger to follow this topic. And it will start with asking a question. The question will be something like, what would you like to know from the Cortex Sales Agent? We're going to ask the user to put in their entire response into a variable that we will name as input to flow or something like that. And then we will add a tool, right? And this is where you can kind of create the new agent flow from here, or we'll just go ahead and access that Snowflake build flow that we already created. So we have that input variable that's part of the flow, and we're going to say go ahead and use input to flow from the user's response as the input there into the flow. And then the output variable, right, which is at the end of the flow that we created, we're just going to pass that as a message, right? So we'll say send message. That final message will be the output. And then we'll go ahead and select save. We'll call our topic Cortex Sales Agent topic. And I think we're in a spot where we can test it out. So if I type use Cortex Sales Agent, I should get the the response that I'm supposed to get from that topic. I might have. Oh, what would you like to know from your Cortex sales agent? Great. I can say summarize the last call with customer secure bank. And the first time you use it, you should get this prompt to open your connections manager, select that. And just, you have to establish the connection with the connection that we set up in the flow. So it should just work for you. It's not for me because it's accessing an older connection. But if I come here and select the one that I just created, Snowflake build connection, I should get a green check. Perfect. Select submit. Okay, so now that we've verified the connection, we have to do it the first time. If I select retry, it might just work. I may have to restart the topic again. Oh, awesome. So you can see what happened. This worked. This is really great. I maybe shouldn't be this surprised. So what we did, right, is we took this prompt that was provided as an input to the stored procedure, which was used by the flow, and then we got the response back. And we have a really clean response. Here's a summary of the last call with Secure Bank. Last call was a 90-minute strategy session. Customer responded very positively. So it did it, right? You can see the latency not that bad, right? It's pretty good. We have, I would say at least dozens, maybe 100 plus customers who we've worked with to set this up. It does take a little bit, you can see, to kind of set up the configuration, get the stored procedure set up. But once you have it going, it's a really smooth experience for being able to securely connect Cortex agents up to Copilot Studio agents. I did mention that once you create the flow, the flow in Copilot Studio is really driving, the integration here. Once you create that, you can use it in a topic, right? But also what we're starting to see is more and more customers are using it as a tool. And I'm not going to walk through this here, but it's really easy to set up. You can add a tool. And then with that tool, you can point to the flow that you just created, right? So without having to worry about a trigger, you just provide a good description in the tool. It'll call the flow, and you can use it that way. We loaded some data, we created an analyst service, we created a search service, we created an agent with these different tools and some orchestration instructions, and then created a connection with the stored procedure as a proxy to access that agent with good latency, good response. Worth sharing that if you have a more it's a simpler use case, right? If you just want to say, I have a Cortex agent, I just want to chat with it. We do have an app that's inside of M365 Copilot in Teams. So you can just directly chat with your Cortex agents that way. It doesn't offer the same robust capabilities as Copilot Studio, right? There's a lot more flexibility there to add different tools and services, but this is also an option if you just simply want to chat with those Cortex agents. That said, kind of call to action here. We have a really strong partnership. As Shankar said, the Snowflake and Microsoft partnership is as strong as it's ever been. It's continuing to grow. We have a number of different virtual hands-on labs available. We're going to provide these links along with the message that comes after this video. And then a lot of resources and demos. If you're already working with Snowflake or Microsoft and you want to get us connected, ask your reps, ask your AE, your SEs, your specialists. We're more than happy to help. There's a team of us both at Snowflake and at Microsoft who are here to help, and that's what we want to do. So thank you for your time. Hope you're enjoying Snowflake Build and looking forward to working with you. Thanks a lot.